Hi everybody, we are here in Las Vegas. We are almost live at Shoptalk Spring. We're live right now, but we won't be when you see us a little later today. I'm here talking to executives from across the Publicis Commerce ecosystem just to get their perspective on what they're seeing and hearing here at the show, the key trends, the main themes, any news announcements that they're hearing, just to get their perspective on what the key issues are here. Right now I'm with Ethan Goodman, who is president of Profitero Plus. Ethan just came off the stage presenting some new research about a particularly important topic these days. So Ethan, if you could kind of just give us some highlights on what you were discussing.
Yeah, it was really exciting. We shared some key findings from our hot off the presses research. We co-published recently with Mars United Commerce on Agentic commerce and specifically on Amazon Rufus. And I think it was really well received. You want me to talk about some of the key things that we discussed? I think we set up why we undertook the research in the first place, why it's so important. It's this notion that increasingly shopper behavior is shifting to AI agents. So think ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and also retailer LLMs like Amazon Rufus and Sparky. So it's really important to our clients, and our clients need to start thinking about how they show up in these agentic searches in addition to how they show up in the digital shelf and the traditional physical shelf. And then the research went on to start to unpack some of the key learnings that we got around how brands can optimize for agentic searches. I would say probably two main themes for us. The first is this notion that optimizing your content on Amazon does matter and can help brands increase their what we call share of agent recommendations and ultimately conversion and sales, but only first after brands have established themselves as bestsellers and highly rated and reviewed products on the platform. So there's kind of like a baseline threshold of eligibility or credibility that brands need to meet in order to be considered to be recommended by Rufus. And then from there, they can kind of tweak and optimize their presence with PDP, content optimizations, and back-end keyword optimizations and things like that. So I think that was a really key finding. And then the other one I think probably goes hand in hand with that. It's this notion that while brands are attempting to optimize for agentic search on platforms like Rufus, they need to keep in mind that a lot of the key pillars that drive that optimization are the ones that are impacting their traditional keyword SEO and their traditional digital shelf presence. So it's not a wholesale change from the approaches they're taking today to make sure that they're recommended by Rufus, but a lot of it boils down to sticking to the basics, doing them exceptionally well, and then I think good things will happen from there.
About a day and a half into the show now, what else are you seeing and hearing? What trends are going on?
I think a lot of the usual suspects. I sat in on Amy Andrews' panel that she facilitated about what's new and next and what's working and not in retail media, and heard a lot of the consistent themes around more credible measurements and increasing channel options and audience capabilities. Obviously, the big theme of Shoptalk this year is agentic commerce, so a lot of content on that. I'll throw you a little bit of a curveball though. I had a meeting with somebody yesterday who's an analyst that covers this space. When I asked him what he thought the most interesting trend was at the show, he actually told me it was the return to analog. And I've started to see some evidence of that across the various sessions and conversations with folks. He's telling me about a company that he's covering that is a direct mail provider for e-commerce native brands. And amidst this sea of digital and AI first companies and vendors that are here on the exhibit floor, these guys are a $100 million company doing snail mail for e-commerce brands. But I do think that kind of underscores a more important point, which is that yes, it's important to stay ahead of these agentic commerce and more broadly digital trends. But we can't forget, like I said, as it relates to our research, can't forget the fundamentals, can't forget the basics. 90% of transactions are still occurring in physical stores, and we need to be mindful of that.
Can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Correct.
All right. We will have a link in the copy that goes along with this video to get you to that report that Ethan was talking about. It's called Decoding Rufus. We'll also be getting more insights from Ethan on April 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time when Publicis Commerce is going to host a recap webinar looking at all of the things we saw and heard here at the show. See you again soon.